Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 4. You'll be taking a midterm. It's going to be a short paper on our text, and that will be due in 2 weeks. So look forward to that. I've had you compare paragraphs. I've had you find the thesis, and this week you'll be writing about larger chunks of the of part one versus part two and that type of information. And please remember, we're not focused on the content. The content is separate from what we're looking at, which is your ability to recognize the style of writing within this book. Okay? So it's less about the information and more about the types of information and the strategies you can recognize that the author used in order to communicate the thoughts behind this book. Okay, so this week I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your paragraphing essay. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your fuse paper and our process of moving from a general topic to a thesis, which is due, and then from a thesis to an outline, from an outline to a draft, and then from a draft to a fully written paper, which will be your final. I'm trying to take you slow, but we'll get to that. And finally, the last thing we're going to talk about is your next short write, writing the chunks. Okay, so the first thing we're talking about is paragraphing. The paragraphing papers are all assessed and they're on Moodle. I want you to remember that the purpose of this assignment was not to recognize what the author was saying, but to recognize how she was saying it in such a way that it makes the book more interesting and more clear. So I'm trying to narrow you down now from looking at the whole book and its thesis to looking at the manner in which the author is presenting you this information. And that's really where some of you fell short, is that you're looking just at the information. In the first sentence, Scout said that Henrietta Lacks went to the hospital. In the second, in the end, and this was led from the other one that said she was hurt. And the second one is, and then they talked about how afraid she was in the hospital and finally said that she went. And that connected to the next one, to the next paragraph, because it talked about her in the hospital. So that content stuff, I expect you to be able to read already. You know what they're saying when they're talking. The purpose of this is for you to look at and study how that information is given in an organized manner, and how this communication is being made clear to you. It's a very complicated book. So if you summarize the paragraph, you got a worse grade than if you actually analyze the paragraphs. Remember that analyze is a different word than summarize. Analyze means that you take your intellect and think about something and then discuss what you think was happening in that paragraph. Summarizes is simply telling me what happened. I'm asking for the why. And the reason for this is that you're in college now and you need to delve deeper into these topics if you want to clarify your writing. And this isn't just for this class. This writing is to help you adjust to college writing throughout the university. So please pay attention. All of you should read Elements of Style, page 7 to 17, where it talks about paragraphing. It also talks about the various ways to structure your paragraphs so that they make sense. You all need to read it because it's probably the clearest explanation of a topic you probably haven't really studied since, sixth grade at the latest. All right. So it is Elements of Style, pages 7 to 17. It provides you examples of what it means and also examples of the wrong way to do things. So please look at that. I believe it also talks about independent and dependent clauses in those pages and gives you examples. So please look at those closely. Most of you have shown problems with these kinds of issues, and all of you could use a nice clear explanation of the things that we're working on now. All right. And I want to point out that those of you, a lot of you, maybe not most, but a lot of you wrote this essay about paragraphing in one long essay. And that kind of defeats the purpose of what you're doing here. It looked like you were taking the easiest route and didn't really think about what you wrote about, and simply got it done and turned it in. And that's what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is, you need to stop doing that, because you need to practice and model the things that you're learning in your own writing. Many of you also placed the entire text of the paragraph. I would have preferred that you just gave me the page number. A couple of you did give me the page number, and it was the wrong page number. And that made it really difficult for me to find what you were talking about. And I needed to do that in order to gain a context to what you meant in your own writing. So please make sure that you start focusing on your paragraphing. Oh, and when you included that paragraph, there were a few of you who then wrote another paragraph that went a little bit over one page so that you met the minimums. I didn't count simply copying text from the book as part of your essay, because it had nothing to do, it only had to do with what you were writing about. It wasn't you writing about it. It was you simply saying, this is the paragraph. Some of you did it very correctly. You even put the paragraph in a proper quotation for a long quotation, which is also in your elements of style and in your MLA. I think it's in the MLA handbook and the APA handbook. So start looking at ways of writing that are correct, not just getting it down on paper. So it's really important that you are trying to model the things that we're looking at, because that's what's going to be expected of you in your Fuse paper. And those are graded on a standard rubric that I'll be introducing to you very soon, probably at midterm. A rubric that is not just mine. It needs to be followed, and so I'm trying to give you little pieces of what that rubric is going to entail. For your general topics paper, some of you didn't turn it in, and you're still going to need to do it. But I'll get to that in a second. The best grades were those who wrote their citations in MLA or APA style. Others of you just wrote down websites, and that's not good enough. You need to write it in the citation so that I know what I'm looking for when I go to that. If you just give me a website, I have to find out. Some of those websites aren't just single articles, and even if they are, the proper way to do it is with a citation. And you're going to have to do it anyway, because you're going to have to include a works cited page. So some of you got to start on that, and you got a better grade for it. Some of you didn't turn it in, but you're still going to have to do it. And if you still have to do it, you need to email them to me, because I'm not going to reopen the site for you. You need to email me your general topic and 10 references that you're going to consult when trying to narrow your topic down into a thesis. So please email those to me, because if you email to me, you'll be getting an F on the assignment and not a 0. And an F is 5 points if you do it all correctly, and a 0 is 0 points. So this is better than this. Okay? So please get those to me as soon as you can. I gave you 2 weeks on the narrowing down to a thesis, which is due next week. Um, you're going to be narrowing down, you're going to be narrowing your topic using a thesis statement or a thesis question. Please give me the citations for those that you are actually going to be using in your Works Cited page. I got a couple of questions about why they have to be from the Hannon Library, and they have to be from the Hannon Library because I don't want you to deal with citations that are not that can't be trusted. Okay, I've had students give me citations of essays from middle school children because they just looked on the internet and didn't look at actual databases that had peer-reviewed articles. So I'm going to open up a little bit more now for your next assignment, the thesis statements. You may also use references that come from the references that you've already chosen from the Hannon Library. Okay, so the scholars that wrote the references that you're talking about, you need to start reading them to find out if they have the information that you specifically need for your thesis and to help you narrow down that thesis. And you can also use works that those authors cited that they used in their work. Okay, so I'm opening it up a little more. It's really easy just to look up a topic on the internet, but that's not research. There's no sense of trying to find the best information. So you do need to use the Hannon Library, but you may also extend it to citations from the 10 references that you're looking for to narrow your thesis down in order to expand your knowledge of that topic. All right. So for your short write next week, you'll be comparing part 1 to part 2. And I want you to look for the type of information that is being communicated in part 1 and part 2. How is it similar or even exactly the same? And how is it different? What is the perspective that the author is writing from? Again, we're looking at the form that the author the author of the Lax book is trying to communicate with rather than the information that she's communicating. So that's if you have questions though, please ask me. When I give a prompt, you can't really find explanations from my prompt on the internet. You really have to go to me so I can clarify, and then you can ask follow-up questions. I've only met with 2 students so far on a Zoom, and I've fielded probably a dozen to 2 dozen questions on text or email. There should be a lot more. All of you should be connecting with me and asking questions. Taking an internet class is a lot harder than taking a face-to-face class. One of it is that in a face-to-face class, you can ask questions about what's being given to you. But the other one is that you get to know the professor a lot better. Please contact me. Please don't judge me by the way I grade your papers. That's a terrible way to judge me. That's a lot harsher than I am because I'm trying to be honest with you. It's a lot harsher than I actually am in real life. And if you think that I'm wrong in my grades for you, please contact me and let me know why. And have reasons for why it was incorrect. I've already talked with one student whose paper went from a failing paper to a B because I then understood the process that writer went through in order to give me the product that I had no context for. Okay? That's all I have for you this week. I'm expecting a lot more contacts from you guys when you have questions. And I really expect you to look at the resources I've provided for you to answer questions of style. I don't have an hour to 2 hours to explain to you every little thing within your paper. So you have to take the initiative and find out for yourselves what you need to do to write these papers. If I haven't answered your question, please contact me and let me know. That is 15 minutes, and I will talk to you again next week.